So, in the last episode, we ripped open the hood and had a proper look at how these agentic systems actually work. The reasoning loops, the tool calling, the memory, all of it. And if you're anything like me, you might have come away thinking, right, I get the mechanism now. It's clever, but it's still basically a fancy autocomplete under the hood. Here's the thing though, knowing how something works and understanding what it means are two very different beasts. And today, I want to talk about why all of this matters in a way that the "it's just a better chatbot" crowd is completely missing, because what we're seeing isn't an upgrade, it's a bloody revolution in disguise. Let's do a quick history lesson. Think about the major tech shifts of the last 50 years. You've got your mainframes, room-sized machines that only big corporations could afford. Then the personal computer came along and put that power on a desk. Then the internet connectivity, then the smartphone, which essentially put a supercomputer in everyone's pocket. Each one of those was dismissed at first. It's just a smaller computer. It's just a phone that can browse the web. Sound familiar? The pattern is always the same. Early iterations look like toys. They underdeliver on the hype, and then, almost overnight, they become infrastructure. They become so woven into daily life that you can't imagine going back. That's the curve we're on with agentic AI, except the timeline is compressed because the technology is advancing so bloody fast. Now here's where the "it's just another chatbot" framing falls apart completely. A chatbot is a tool. You ask it something, it gives you something back. It's the exchange. You're the driver, it's the car. But an agent is more like a colleague. You give it an outcome. Sort out my expenses, build me a dashboard, schedule meetings with these 10 people, and it figures out the steps. It decides what to do first, what to check, when to ask you a question, and when to just get on with it. That's not a tool. That's a shift in what work even means. And I know some of you are thinking, okay, sure, but hasn't AI been promised to change everything before? Remember the blockchain hype? Remember the metaverse, Web3, all those buzzwords that came and went? Fair point. And I get the skepticism. We've all been burned by overhyped tech before. But here's the difference. This isn't speculative. This isn't a vision of some distant future that keeps getting pushed back. The productivity gains are already showing up in real work, in real companies, with real numbers to back it up. We're not talking about 10% improvements here and there. We're talking about 10 times, in some cases. A developer using agents properly can do in an afternoon what used to take a team a week. That's not aspirational marketing. That's happening right now in companies paying attention. And the big players? They're not betting on this as a side project. They're betting the entire farm. Every major AI lab out there is pouring resources into making agents more reliable, more capable, more autonomous. Why? Because they can see what's coming. The first wave of AI convinced us that machines could talk to us. The agent wave is showing them that machines can work with us. And that is a very, very different value proposition. Now let's talk about what I call the agent economy, because that's the bit that really gets me excited and also slightly worried, if I'm honest. When agents become capable enough, you won't just have one assistant. You'll have a whole team. Your agent will talk to your calendar agent, which will talk to your email agent, which will talk to your research agent. They'll coordinate. They'll hand off tasks. You'll essentially be managing a tiny workforce of digital colleagues. And here's where it gets interesting from an economic standpoint. When anyone can deploy these agents, the bottleneck stops being capability and starts being intention. What do you want to achieve? That's the scarce resource now, not the execution. And that, my friends, is a massive democratization of productivity. It also means the gap between people who use these tools and people who don't is going to gap even wider than the gap between people who use computers and people who don't. That's not fear-mongering. That's just pattern recognition. So where does this leave us? Well, episode 4 is all about which industries are going to get turned upside down first and which ones might actually come out ahead. Because it turns out the impact isn't uniform. Some sectors are going to feel this like a sledgehammer, others are going to find ways to surf the wave. And I'll see you there to break it all down. But before I go, if you're still thinking of this as just a better version of what came before, I'd encourage you to zoom out. Really think about what it means when machines don't just answer questions, but do the work. That's the shift. That's what makes this different. And understanding that difference might just be the most valuable thing you do this year. Catch you in the next one.